This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
8:49 in the morning. This is the Morning Run. I'm Shazana with Shou, Ning and Philip. The Dewan Rakyat yesterday passed constitutional amendments based on the Malaysia Agreement 1963 or MA63 by a unanimous block vote. The bill seeks to, among others, list Sabah and Sarawak in the federal constitution as equal partners in the federation and not just as one of 14 states.
In the past, there had been dissatisfaction over the lack of autonomy in the two states, with both claiming federal authority to be overbearing. There had also been unhappiness over the slow development in both states. So how significant is this passing, and what will this mean for the Sarawak state elections?
For more on this, we have Dr. James Chin, Professor of Asian Studies at the University of Tasmania. James, good morning. So this decision seems to be a long time coming. What's the significance of the passing of MA63 Bill in Parliament yesterday and the constitutional amendments that will follow?
The constitutional amendment was done yesterday. But before I start, can I just do a quick correction? You mentioned at the start of the introduction that this will lead to equal status. That is actually not mentioned in the bill at all. Nothing to do with equal status. Let me just quickly do a quick summary of what the actual changes made. It's basically 4 items. The first one is actually to include the Malaysia Agreement itself into the constitution. The second is to make a clear distinction between the states in Peninsula Malaysia. From now on, the official wording is Tanah Melayu or Malaya. The third is actually to enshrine September 16 as Malaysia Day. And the fourth one is actually to allow the Sarawak state government to define who is a native. So nothing is mentioned about equal status. Now, coming back to it, why is it significant? I think it's significant for 2 reasons. One is that this is a clear indication that the political class in Malaya has finally accepted the fact that there is a lot of historical grievances in Sabah and Sarawak, and by allowing the amendment to go through means that there's a recognition at the highest level of the Malaysian political class that we have to do something about this. Secondly, I think it's highly, highly significant because it means that the entire country has a new mindset over the Borneo states. As you know, for a very, very long time, a lot of people in Malaya has always regarded Sabah and Sarawak as a bit backward, and they always regarded the people from Sabah and Sarawak as sort of the Ulu people, the people from upriver. So I think these amendments will help change the mindset about looking at Sabah and Sarawak as sort of equal to the people in Malaya. And I think it's very, very important that we have a different mindset going forward.
Now, James, aside from the changes that you've mentioned, will there really be any difference in how these states are governed and their level of empowerment?
Not really. Like I said, this is all very symbolic. But once you get a mindset, then changes will follow through easily. Because right now, the political class still regard Sabah and Sarawak as subservient to Malaya. So through this amendment and a change in mindset, it will be much easier from now on for the people of Sabah and Sarawak, especially the state government, to ask for things from Putrajaya.
And you're talking about things like development funds. Is that where you think there will be a big change and focus, let's say, on a lot of questions over rural development, the digital divide? Will there be more focus on that now?
Yes, I think it's a whole host of issues. I think on top of the list is, of course, decentralization. Sabah and Sarawak state government want to take back some of the powers, especially in things like health, education. They want to run more of their own show over there, so to speak. I think they also want extra development fund. In other words, they want additional funding in order for the infrastructure in Sabah and Sarawak to catch up with the infrastructure in Peninsula Malaysia. And of course, the third item I think they're looking for is that they're looking for some sort of shift in political power from Malaya and share it more equitable with Sabah and Sarawak. So I think these are the 3 major items. And of course, there's still a lot of historical grievances, other issues that they want to bring in, but those are issues that's been there for a long time, things like the oil and gas, the demarcation of the continental shelf. But moving forward, like I said, the most important thing is change in mindset.
Now, let's just talk about the process, because when it came to the vote, it was really bipartisan. No MPs were voting against it, right? And, Malaysia is really not well known for its bipartisan politics. Was this break from the norm, very much linked to the fact that we have a state election in 2 weeks ahead?
Well, I think for the politicians on the Malaya side, I don't think the state election had any bearing on the way they vote. I think, as I mentioned very early on, this is really a mindset change among the political class. They realize that something is not right after 60 years and that the people in Sabah and Sarawak are increasingly unhappy. And you can see this unhappiness expressed in many ways. The most obvious one is, the campaign for Sabah, Sarawak, Keluar Malaysia. And I think that the political class decided that we really have to look into this issue. There's no time to waste. And that, the people of Sabah, Sarawak should have every right, to amend the constitution sort of to reflect their actual status rather than let this thing, brew in the background. And that may lead to unintended consequences. So that's the reason why I think there was popular support from both sides of the aisles.
But do you think that this decision will ultimately benefit GPS as we head into elections this week?
Yes, of course. I mean, at the local level for the Sarawak election, this coming Saturday, GPS can now rightly go out and claim that they are the heroes of MA63. They actually brought this about. If you remember back in 2019, when PH was in charge, they just tried to change one item, which is Article 1, subsection 2, and they were not able to carry out. And GPS managed to carry out 4 separate amendments. So I think GPS will definitely go all out, claim a major victory, and say that we are the real MA63 champions, unlike all the other people. In Malaysian term, we call them NATO, no action, talk only.
So, James, give us a little bit of a temperature check on what's happening in Sarawak with regards to the election campaigning. What's your sense of it now? And especially the opposition, it's been rather quiet from when we observe in KL.
Sure. So, Sarawak, as you know, is very insular. So, basically, the way to understand it is that this election is fought almost exclusively on local issues. You can see the federal leaders have sort of stayed away. Prime Minister only visited once. So basically, it's a very localized election. The reason why there was a very quiet mood is because of the SOP. But certain things are very clear. GPS is on track to win the elections. The only question is the margin of victory. Secondly, there was a lot of undercurrents in the urban areas. My understanding is that a lot of the Chinese are very unhappy. The DAP, as you know, the DAP has always done very well in urban Chinese majority areas. And I suspect there'll be a few surprises in the Chinese areas. Other than that, I think GPS is on track to win a big victory. They'll definitely get a 2/3 majority. And so I'll come back on Monday and talk about it.
So likely they'll win more than 72 seats?
That has to be seen. I will have a very clearer picture by Thursday or Friday. The reason why I said it is not because I'm arrogant. It's because one of the unique features of Sarawak politics is that early morning of the day of polling, there's a very special type of rain that comes in. It's called the money rain. And that will affect the way people vote in Sarawak.
All right then, James. We look forward to our chat on Monday. That was Dr. James Chin, Professor of Asian Studies at the University of Tasmania, talking to us about the significance of the amendments to the Constitution as a result of the MA63 Bill, as well as giving us his predictions for what's going to happen during the state elections this weekend.
In my time of bad weather, I've never ever experienced money rain before.
I won't bring my umbrella. I want it to fall on me.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.